Okay, I think we are live, Trisha. This is exciting. We were testing out some of the technical pieces of what we're going to do today. So if you are joining us, I'm Wendy with FamilySearch, and we're thrilled to have you here. Wednesdays, we come on some of our different channels and connect with you. And today we're here with Trisha. And Trisha, let us know a little bit about you and your family, and then we'll confirm that we're live streaming, and then we'll talk a little bit about what we're gonna do today. So tell us about you and your family.
Okay, well, I've basically grown up in Utah, and my father grew up in Butte, Montana, and that's where everybody, the whole family was there, cousins. But the roots our Greek roots are in Chios, Greece.
Chios.
And it's a small island near Turkey, but it's very small. And the village is Volissos. So there's a Volissos town and a really small Volissos village.
Okay, so which generation immigrated?
My great-great-grandfather.
Okay.
And he was 15, we think. Yeah, he was 15, and he didn't want to take on the family business, which was being a fisherman.
Oh,
that's
so
really
that isn't just a stereotype?
No.
People are fishermen. Okay, and so just to interrupt you, we're going to keep going, but
okay.
we always ask people to tell us where they're joining from. So maybe we'll have some people with Greek roots, hopefully. Okay, so your great-great-great-grandfather.
No,
just
great.
Okay, he decided, I don't want to fish. So then what does he do?
So he got in a fight with his father.
Okay.
And he stormed out of the house, I guess.
The village. And
then he just disappeared and hopped a boat. I believe he was a stowaway. If I remember correctly, he was a stowaway. And he came to the United States through Ellis Island. And I do have some of his documents that, his petitions for naturalization and neat things like that with his signature.
Mm-hmm.
And so he ended up going to Butte, Montana, which is was a mining town. And that's where he settled and had a family and made a living. And so that's where my dad and aunts and uncles and everybody grew up in Butte, Montana.
Okay, wow.
Yeah.
Okay, so from there,
mm-hmm.
Utah became a part of your family.
Yeah, I think they just kind of, one sibling moved and then others followed.
It seems to happen that way.
Yeah, and so he never talked to his father or his mother again, which just makes me so sad, of course.
Mm-hmm.
So we've been in a roadblock with our family history with my great-great-grandfather. And so we're stuck. We don't know anything about his parents except their names and their birth dates. We can't get access to records. And so this is a lot of people will have this problem in Greek research where they'll hit a brick wall and they'll keep looking and they just can't find anything.
Okay, well, we're going to talk about Greek research today, as Trisha mentioned, and we're going to talk a little bit about some tips and then some of the obstacles. And you are still trying to find some people, so it's not necessarily easy, and none of this work is easy. So welcome to everyone who is watching with us today. We're so happy to see you from all over. We love our FamilySearch global family. And so Trisha, I say we just jump right in because I know people are excited to learn. And if you have a specific question, please put it in the chat and we will be taking questions about halfway through. But can you help us understand, you talked about your great-great-grandfather leaving, and not being able to tie them to records. Why is research hard in this area?
It's difficult because,
and this is showing, you're trying to show FamilySearch or this, the Word document?
Am I showing something?
Yeah, it's a Word document.
Oh, yeah,
it's great. Like, it's really helpful, but I'm suspecting you wanted to show FamilySearch or something.
Yeah, I wanted to show that picture.
Okay, tell me if you can get it.
Okay.
Okay. Guys, this is live streaming. This is what it's like. Trisha's trusting our audience and me that we'll figure this out. So we are excited to, why is research in this area so difficult?
It's difficult because, and the thing is, Greece has kept very good records. Mm-hmm. But one of the problems, well, not problems, but you need to familiarize yourself with Greek history, especially, from beginning of the 1800s on, because they had, in 1820, that was a big war, and, a lot of, so the boundaries and, changed. Mm-hmm. And some countries became part of Greece, and Greece went to other countries, and there were many, it just moved. So you could be looking for a relative in, I don't know, Athens or something, and they went during the war, they fled and went to Italy,
mm-hmm.
So that's where it's difficult, is because it's the boundaries and
everything is changing, and so understanding the history is important. Talk to us a little bit about the name situation. You said that there was something really important around names.
Oh, yes. So Greek research is very different in that it's obviously a different alphabet. Mm-hmm. And also the naming traditions, which this kind of makes it a little bit easier once you really get into it, but there's naming traditions. And so the firstborn son is given the grandfather's name, his dad's name.
Okay.
And then if it's a daughter, it's given the father's mother's name. This gets a little bit crazy, but it's easy, I guess. Mm-hmm. So then if it's the second born daughter, mm-hmm. is named after the mother's mother.
Okay.
And the second born son is named after the mother's father. Yeah.
Okay.
And from there on, it can go with, aunts and uncles or saints. I had a friend who was named for the saint that was the saint. It's called Saint's Day. So mm-hmm. she was born on that day. And so she goes by Dina, mm-hmm. But it's Constantina. So I probably said that incorrectly, but
well, we're all friends here. So because there's so many family names, mm-hmm. it can get sort of confusing, can it?
It can. It really can. And that's why you need to start with the origin, the specific town or city, region, and, what is it? Municipality and region. Mm-hmm. So that's huge. You really can't get anywhere unless you have that information. So some people have a roadblock there, but if you just keep, so many resources, Google, there's a lot of resources on Facebook. There's so many groups for
research groups, because so many people are stuck, right?
Yes. And, I'm a member of so many, Hellenic societies and different, Greek sites and groups. And there's one for Chios, which is where our family is from. And, it's just fun because people post pictures all the time, and, you can ask questions, and then there's another site that they have a document that you can add the surname to that you're looking for.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, if anybody has information on that surname, you know, they can reach out. So Facebook is a very good source, but the best source is the FamilySearch wiki.
Okay, the wiki. The wiki.
The wiki is the best. It has so much information. It will give you links to just anything you can imagine. Archives, dioceses. There's a book in our library that is all about beginning Greek research that you can link to. I mean, it's just cemeteries, schools, voter registration, census. It's all there. And there's even help with the language.
Okay.
Now that you really, if you can get those basic genealogical words and just learn to recognize them, that's going to make it a lot easier. And so it's a good list, but you can just even sit and compare it and say, is this the city, or, is this the birthplace? All things like that. Are these voter records, military records? So, it can be a little slow going when you're trying to determine. I mean, it can be very slow going, but it's worth it. It's really worth it. And I have become I've just become voracious in wanting to know more and more and more, not just about my heritage, but the Greek culture itself, and learning to read the alphabet and write the alphabet. So I have all these little things I want to accomplish, to help me, and, of course, help others. But again, the wiki research it's just a treasure. It's just a gold mine.
And is that your, so you are a researcher and you are employed by FamilySearch. We skipped right into the research. And what team are you on? I think people love to know kind of behind the scenes stuff.
I am in the user guidance team. So we do wiki articles for FamilySearch historical record collections.
Okay. And
then the research wiki it's about all the genealogical things, the geography, customs,
record types,
and gives you links to everything. They even have form letters, so you can write to a diocese or an office, records office, or an archive. And it's just so many good links. And then it'll even take you to links that I have listed on, I think, the document I gave you. There's the wiki, and then Facebook and a few others. But that's the gold mine. That's where I go.
That's awesome. So the wiki. So when you're doing the research, you said it's really important to have the correct name and how did you say it? Municipality?
It's the birth, I'm trying to look at this, the birthplace and the exact name.
Okay.
Is my document showing?
No, I unshared your screen, but do you want to try and share and see if we can show some things on FamilySearch that will be helpful? And if it doesn't work, it's fine. We're just so happy we have people joining from all over. And Trisha, as you get that up and running, we've had a couple of people ask how northern Utah is after the storms. And Trisha and I were talking earlier about this. I live downtown, and I have power, obviously, because I'm here in my pink office. And Trisha, you have power.
Yes.
There's still lots of people here without power, and everyone's helping clean up. There's cleanup efforts going on, and lots of beautiful trees that have fallen. But I think for the most part, we're safe. And thank you for asking our FamilySearch family. And we love hearing where you're from. And I kind of am looking at my iPad down to see if there's any comments or questions. And Alan Jones has a comment while you're pulling something up. He says that the name sometimes also depends on the ethnic group of the family.
Yes.
And there was a family that he was either researching that it was a family in New Jersey, and they were German, and they named all 5 of their sons with the same first name as the father. So, right? Like, and they're doing that because that's an important tradition to them. And that's a wonderful thing for us to learn and respect. But on the other end, it can be frustrating to understand who these people are. So thank you for that comment.
Really
That was
fun.
great. We appreciate
Okay.
that.
So I've got this up.
Okay, let's see if it works. This is so exciting. It's like, is the technology going to work today?
Yeah. Why isn't it here?
Oh, and we need to talk about the correct spelling of names too.
Yes.
Okay, let's see. Okay, this is that photo. This is, yeah, tell us about this.
So I was just playing around on Google one day and, oops, darn it. And this image came up. You know, I typed in our last name and Hios and just see what would come up, because there's a woman who lives nearby or works nearby who's from Hios. And she said that, well, there's still a lot of Kougioulises there that are there in Hios. And so I just thought, well, let's see. And so I Googled and I found this image of a storefront. And this is my last name in Greek.
That is so cool. And did you know that this existed, or you just, like you said, you just Googled?
I didn't. We had talked to a family member. It was my dad's cousin, and there was a coffee a small coffee manufacturer and coffee shop, and I cannot find that now. So I don't know if it went out of business, but they had, you know, their coffee bags had the name on it, and I was trying to get a hold of one, and now I can't find the company. So I'm going to see if I can find somebody in the tree that's shown up that has our same last name and is from Hios. See if they can help me out with that, because that would just be so fun.
That would be so fun. Tell us why the names have changed so much when they come. Yeah, you talked, and you can show us some FamilySearch examples if you have any, or you can speak to it, whichever is easier.
Yeah, I haven't uploaded them. I have
okay
records I've saved. So so is it I'm so horrible at this screen. Okay. Wanted to turn off the screen. So then you asked about the naming. Okay, so traditionally in the Greek culture, the names are done, they're very, you'll hear a lot of names. Some people have seen, for example, My Big Fat Greek Wedding.
Yes.
There's a scene where, you know, family and friends are all together and you just hear the same, you know, they're introducing and you hear the same name over and over. And then, you know, the females, and you think, why aren't they more creative with their names? You know, what is that? Because we're not familiar. So so when they have a son, if it's the firstborn son, he's named after the father's father. So
right, yeah.
If the firstborn is a girl, it's named after the father's mother. And then the next child is again named, the son would be named after the mother's father, and the female would be named after the mother's mother. And it kind of goes from there, and then they can use, you know, aunts and uncles. So again, you're getting the names repeated.
So cousins probably have a lot of the same names.
Yeah.
What about if they came to the United States and went through Ellis Island? Did anything happen there?
Yes, it's interesting. Not, you know, everybody says that the government changed their name. There's a couple of different theories about this, that the people who were processing them would change the name to make it easier or Americanize it, which is true in some cases. Sometimes they chose to, the immigrant chose to change the name or shorten it, especially shorten it.
They're so long.
hmm But there were also a lot of misspellings from, with how they're speaking. It may not be clear to the person who's writing their information down. It could be something totally different when they spell it. But my great grandfather, when he came over, his name's Nikolaos Kougioulis, spelled the same, which in Greek, it's actually, if you pronounce it the Greek way, it's Kougioulis, something like that. His first name was Nikolaos, and he shortened it to just Nick, kept our last name exactly as it's spelled. And so all of his records just say Nikolaos and then Nick. So it's quite easy to find those. But his father's name was George, and his mother's name was Maria. But I didn't, let's see, none of his children were named Nick, I don't think, but there's a George. And then that's really, the daughters weren't named after any of the Greek relatives.
So it can be confusing. We have a question about names.
Okay.
Can I give it to you? And is there something you want to show? We're looking at the photo, which is lovely. Okay, so Kimberly asks, explain why some of the surnames, and maybe you answered this already, will be slightly different male or female versions. So for example, she found her mom's original maiden name in Greece is, I'm gonna not say this right, but it's Korempes. And she found a cousin in Australia who doesn't have the S at the end. So the last names are different. Is that something that is, common, depending on what country they ended up, or what, why did that happen is what Kimberly wants to know.
Okay, can you repeat that?
Yeah. Okay, so Kimberly's asking a question about the surname spelling. So she has her mom, it was with an S, and then she found a cousin in Australia who removed the S.
Oh, okay.
From the last name.
That could be any number of reasons. If they immigrated right to Australia from Greece, I'm not very knowledgeable on that front, but we can, if you want to keep that message or that question, I can look into it for you.
Yeah, we can keep it. I think that's interesting because depending on the country, even though they're cousins, their names were, the last names were spelled differently. And like you said, it could be any number of reasons. Tell us a little bit about one of your favorite family history stories from your Greek ancestors. And if you have a photo to show us, it would be awesome.
I don't have a photo. I am trying to get this record of my grandfather's petition for naturalization.
Yes.
Up, and I want to share it.
Should I can turn your screen off and then you can do it again. Should I do that? Okay.
Yeah. Okay.
Thanks for being patient with us, everybody. Yeah. We're so happy that you're here. And yes. Okay. So show us something about you said it was an immigration record.
Yes. And now it's gone away. Oh, no, there it is. Okay. So can you see this?
Not yet.
Not yet. Okay.
Yeah. We're so excited though.
Oh, it's not cooperating. There it is. How about now? Okay.
Yes. Perfect.
So this is Nick's petition for naturalization. When he filled this out, he was living in Butte. But one thing I love about this is if you look at his signature right here, oops, didn't do that. My father's signature is almost exactly like this. And I couldn't get, I wish I didn't do that. I couldn't get a good picture of my dad's signature, but the N is, identical. And you can look at my grandfather's handwriting and it's very similar as well. and they all have this beautiful handwriting. And I love the fact that it shows as it passed down through the generations. And I just love that. That's, gives me a little thrill that we still have that coming through, in our heritage, and that the little things like that can.
Well, I think it's a physical manifestation of, being connected to someone. And I think that's exciting too.
Yeah.
Tell us a little bit about your great grandfather. I feel like you have some good stories about.
Well, I think I don't know if I mentioned this earlier, but he ran away from home. Did I bring this up yet?
Yeah, and he was a stowaway.
Yeah, he was a stowaway, and he ended up in Butte. And the stories I've been told is he worked in restaurants, but he was also a professional gambler. And so it was either feast or famine at home. And he had, there's, I think, seven children. I may be missing one or two. But it was just such a fun little story. Like, who can say their great grandfather was a professional gambler?
Right. Nobody. Let us know. Is this something that has happened to you? And a stowaway on top of that.
Yeah, that's one thing I think a lot of people did, especially young people that didn't have money for passage did. And I'd love to hear if anybody else has a story like that. Because when he came through Ellis Island, he was legit. And it had his, in this document, it says the SS Niagara. So, he was legit when he came through.
So what are the kinds of things that people can learn, Greek research, obviously, from immigration records, or like the record we're looking at right now? Like, what, as a researcher, would you look at this and point out as valuable?
Oh, there's so much of value in here. So you've got at the top where he came from. So you've got his name, his Greek name, where he lives now, and where he came from is Velisos. It's actually spelled wrong there. The nationality is Greek. And then you come down here and you see his children's names and birth dates. That's right there.
Important. Trisha, I have to interrupt you because Lorraine is saying that her grandfather was a gambler. He won and lost a couple of sections of land within a week. Lorraine, I hope he won the land, and I hope that you're reaping the benefits of that. Okay, so you've got the kids' birth dates and names.
Because he'd been here, he'd been in the country for so long. He, married, had many children. This gives the date he arrived in the United States, and then affidavit, his signature, the date that he filled this form out. But this is great because you've got, which I don't know how common this is, but you've got all the children listed with their birth dates. You have Velisos when he was born. You have his birth date. It's kind of hard to read. And his wife's name, and where he was married, where she was born, his wife was born. There's so much in here. You can see he, when he left on the SS Niagara, it was from Havre, France. Landed in New York City on September 18th. This is a wealth of information because you have his, his exact first name, even though it's not shown in Greek, where he was from, how he got here, and then all of this information about his children, which that's to me, that was a gold mine.
That's a gold mine. This is. Yes, and like you said, on the handwriting, and we've got a couple people who are saying that their grandfathers had beautiful handwriting and even had to learn how to do it at here in English at age 14, I think. somebody said. So help us know a little bit more about, so we've talked about the names, and what about finding the locations from where people are from in Greece? We talked about some of the resources. Is there any tricks to kind of locating where it was they lived?
That sometimes is hard. So you want the locations, as I was saying, you've got the municipality, the diocese where that municipality was in, because they're all in a certain region, and then where the diocese is located today. So like the office today, you can write to get that information. You can get on Facebook to find that, some of these groups will assist you. I've never written because I know his name, but that's something I'm planning on doing to try and get an answer about my great-grandparents. And then my great-great-grandparents, because we know nothing about them really.
So,
go ahead.
I was gonna say, what type of records are available to search in this area? Talk to us about that. And I had you stop sharing your screen, so if you want to share again,
that's fine. If you look at a lot of the records that you find out there, I think I gave you a list of
yeah, you did,
websites, and they have archives. There are voter registration lists, which are mails, military records. There's gazetteers, which are government publications, and then church records. And so there was Catholic and also Greek Orthodox. So my great-grandfather was Catholic. And so that's how his family was brought up. But, I have a lot of friends that are Greek Orthodox, and, they go to the Prophet Elias down the street here, and which is beautiful. They have beautiful churches. So, and then it's good to network, to find, that's what these Facebook pages are great for. It's networking, people in your area, you go to attend a service and they have like a coffee hour after, and you can just chat and kind of get some information about, do you know this person on this island? No, but this person might have a cousin. I mean, that's a lot of it, is networking. When you're having trouble finding, trying to pin down certain things. And then again, these American petitions and naturalization certificates have a lot of information.
What does FamilySearch have as far as Greek records? Tell us about that.
We have a lot of records on microfilm.
Okay.
They're not digitized, but they are on microfilm, and they're at the Family History Library. And there's quite a few. I was surprised to learn how many rolls we have. We don't have a lot of books per se. We do have, can't think of the volume. There's 2 volumes of it, and I can find that out. My brain just blanked.
No, yeah, you're fine. You're live. You're chatting with a few hundred of our friends about Greek research, Trisha, and you're doing fantastic. I think it's helpful for people, even if they're not researching this area, to get an understanding of kind of the complexities. And you talked about the naming traditions, which are beautiful, but can also sort of dilute who's
very confusing,
and the history and the moving boundaries and some of the ways wars impacted where people lived, and they fled, and there may not be records. And currently at FamilySearch, there's not a lot. There's digitized records. You can go to the library, but we can't go to the library right now, unfortunately, because we're still closed. And friends, we don't know when we will, any of our centers or libraries will open. We just know that we're following really closely the guidelines that are put out by the leadership. And I know Trisha could speak to this too. You guys are so excited to get back in
Yes.
library and connect with people. But for now, where can people go with these types of questions? And there's some links to Facebook groups that we'll be putting in the chat. Is there a place on FamilySearch where they can go to find out information? Or you talked about the wiki.
Yes.
What else would you recommend?
The wiki, and there's a tab. Oh, the main tab where it says search. There's something you can click on that says genealogies. And there are a lot of records in there, a lot of Greek records in there. And that's from people sharing family group sheets or just submitting what they have. And you'd be surprised at what's in there. It's very interesting. And there's stories and, there's.
Love those.
Yeah. Oh, the stories are so fun.
Will you, and there's also an online, does FamilySearch communities also have a Greek research focused community? Do you know?
They do.
We can drop the link in because I want you to talk about, you talked about finding or maybe not finding, but there being a box of Greek family group sheets. Will you tell us a little bit about that?
Okay, so my supervisor had this box that's been just being drugged around to different offices. They've moved, and it was like, it wouldn't stop following them. And so he wanted them out of his office because he hit his knee on him all the time, is what he said. And he just wanted to get rid of them. And he's like, do you want to do anything with these? And there's a woman at the library who does a lot of Greek research. And I got her involved, and we took them, and she's done a lot of work on the names, so you can look at a Greek name and what the equivalent in English would be. But that was a huge breakthrough for me, because we really haven't had a lot of records in the library. And then you have MyHeritage drop over 1 million records.
Wow.
And it just is kind of taken off for me from this box.
Yes, it started with the box and your stowaway gambling great grandfather, which sounds like such a fun legacy. Okay, Trisha, I think as we are wrapping up, what advice would you give people who are dabbling in Greek research? And let's just say any research. What would you recommend?
Well, I mean, you've got to start with the basics. I mean, look at what's your, end goal. And then you kind of want to not focus on that. You want to go, just in steps. What can I do here? How can I find this name or, any relative? If you can't find someone, don't skip ahead or, or jump back, I guess, because you want to go, up. So father, grandfather, but don't skip. That's, or don't go on to, you can go on to another, like a cousin or something, which can help, but you hit a roadblock, and we've been stuck at a roadblock for my lifetime, but now this has been so exciting because these records are becoming more available, and I'm learning the ropes with all these websites and making connections. And, some of these Facebook pages are great. They will, people take a picture of a headstone and ask for it to be translated, or a document, and people in the group will translate it for them.
Wow.
Which is fun. It's very fun. So you want to just start out with your basics: birth dates, your birthplaces, and names. And from there, you work your way back. But to find those records, it can be difficult. But you want to start with censuses, obviously civil registrations, birth, death, marriage, and then just whatever else. There's a big list of these links on the Wiki research page, and it just has censuses and archives and all of this to guide you to the different resources. But really, you just, like the basics I told you, and the diocese, because sometimes, not often, but sometimes you can, write to the diocese and contact a priest and they might help you out there. A lot of times you have to have an in. You have to know somebody who knows, a priest or somebody in the records offices, which is difficult. But like I said, you've got a network.
You got a network.
Yeah.
So tell us like one or two of your favorite things about being part of like the Greek tradition and culture. What is something that is so unique that you just love and cherish about being a part of that Greek community?
And being in the Greek community is just, the Greeks are so family centered. And with the friends I've made, it's just, they just welcome you with open arms and warmth, and you're part of you're Greek. You come with us, you're Greek. And I can't cook. I have one dish I can make that's Greek, and that's it. But I know that I've gotten recipes and things like that. It's just, they're very warm and very welcoming culture, and it carries on here, because that family, they've stuck in their families, and it's just, that's one thing I just love about it. And the history, I'm a history nerd. And I love it, but learning more about Greece, and because there's so much history, it's just, I love that. I could read for hours and look at pictures for hours. But that's for me, that's fun. A lot of people may not find it fun, but when you're learning a little bit of the Greek history, you might, catch, people were taken and put into German work camps. During World War II, they occupied Greece, and there was a lot of death, and they were taken out. And so there's a lot of sad things that give very, sad times, but there's also, there's such a resilience, and they stick together, and I love that.
Yes, this sounds like, yes, I just appreciate you kind of giving us a lens into, first of all, some beginning points, like you said, the basics for Greek research, but also the strength and the resiliency and the beauty of being a part of that culture. So Trisha, thank you. And thank you to everyone who joined us. We will make sure that we go back and look and see if there's any specific questions that we can help with. And we will see everybody next week. Actually, we're talking to more people from the library, Trisha. We're talking about the digital library, or the digital books in the library. So if you're interested in research and this hidden gem, and it might not be hidden to everybody, but there's just a wealth of information. And you talked about that being a resource, but not a lot of books for Greek research. Trisha, what do you want to say as we sign off to everybody? Give us some inspiration to stay, focused on researching and connecting. What would you like us to end with?
Just, learn as much as you can about your ancestors. Ask for stories, pictures, memories. Write them down. You'll get that connection. That really helps you gain that connection with them. And that's very important, because that just feeds your thirst to find more and more. And again, if you hit a roadblock, you hit a roadblock. That happens in every aspect of genealogy. So if that happens, learn more about the city or the island, or, you know, the town where your relatives came from. But don't get discouraged, because we've all hit it.
Yes, I
And
like that.
we have all hit that. I'm in the middle of it, but don't get discouraged. Just keep looking. Records are, you know, records come around all the time, though you may not think so. If you, you know, if you check the different websites and the wiki research page or genealogy page, you never know what you're going to find. So we're always adding things, and other companies or websites always adding things, offering help, free webinars on GreekAncestry.net. There's lots of great webinars on that. But yeah, learn as much as you can, because it's so fun and it's wonderful. So enjoy it. And
yes, and eat some Greek food.
Learn to make
that.
Learn to make some Greek food. I mean, baklava is pretty difficult, but you can make a
yes, we can go buy it. Like I will go buy it. Okay,
yes.
Thanks, Trisha, and thanks to our FamilySearch family.